Hello, everyone. Thank you to our knowledge management community. It's so good to see you today. It looks like we are spread out all across the globe, and that's always fun. I'm Cindy Hubert, Executive Director of Client Solutions and our Knowledge Management Practice Lead at APQC. And I already see several of you familiar faces online. And we appreciate your time. Let me just say that. Thank you for being interested enough to join us this hour. And I'm very excited and honored to welcome Cinequip. So a little bit about our partnership with Cinequip. They have been our partner and a great sponsor of our Knowledge Management and Process Management Conference for the past 3 years. And we just always appreciate their insights and what they are learning that support all the efforts that we have here at APQC. I'm joined by Scott Parker, who is head of marketing programs for Cinequip, as well as Minji Kim, who is Search Cloud Engineer. And they're going to bring a highly interactive and exciting program for you guys today. Things that I'm interested in terms of search that we've been looking at for years in the field of knowledge management, and we always seem to be missing a few secret ingredients. So Scott and Minji are going to be talking about the innovations and trends that they're seeing and what successful implementation looks like. And Scott, one of my most important things to learn from you is the impact it has on business. So without further ado, Scott, I'll turn it over to you. We will be giving you some time for Q&A. So thanks and take it away.
Thanks, Cindy. And it's great to be back working with APQC. I mean, just that video intro really shows, you guys think of everything, and it's a pleasure to be working with you. Looking forward to seeing everybody in Houston in May. So just to continue the introductions, Cinequip, why do we exist? What do we do? How we're different? Cinequip provides enterprise search solutions to organizations of all sizes. These organizations typically recognize that quick access to company knowledge can directly impact client outcomes and directly impact revenue. Our platform is designed to help employees quickly find and analyze relevant information from all across the company, all across the enterprise. This includes structured data sources like databases, but also, and maybe most importantly, unstructured sources like email and documents and web pages. Our solutions are designed to integrate with existing systems and workflow. So we'll talk about that. But really what it does is it provides a single point of access for information discovery and insights, and that impacts productivity in positive ways. It helps employees at all levels make informed decisions, and it drives business growth because it enables employees and customers of our customers to access relevant information quickly and easily. And I did bring with me a few of those customer examples to present to you today. So what are the objectives of the webinar? Well, first of all, we want to educate folks on the benefits of implementing an effective enterprise search solution in your organization. We want to help folks understand how to design and implement an effective search strategy that leverages the potential of your data and your content. And we also want to showcase some real-world examples and some best practices for leveraging enterprise search to support your business processes, things like information discovery, knowledge management, customer engagement. So there's a lot to cover in the hour. Who's in the audience? So you should see yourself on this chart. We really have a mix, right? We've got IT and technical professionals. We've got knowledge and workplace leaders often come to these APQC events. We've got business leaders signed up for this webinar. And we also have end users, right? Employees and customers of organizations that provide enterprise search. So it's a real mix. You're going to hear things you already know. You're going to hear things hopefully you don't already know. So thanks again for coming, and let's dive into understanding enterprise search. So I always like to start with a definition. What is it, right? Well, it's both a technology and a set of best practices for searching and retrieving information from largely siloed systems, often with massive amounts of digital content. And it's usually within your organization. So it's within the firewall. It's not a place that a web search engine is going to be able to go. And why would you care? Well, the goal of enterprise search is to enable employees, like I mentioned, to quickly access and get to relevant information, regardless of where it's stored, regardless of the format that it's in, regardless of the language that it might be in. And this is all aimed at supporting business processes around decision-making, as I mentioned, knowledge management, and even customer engagement. So let's start with kind of the critical components, right, of an enterprise search solution. Obviously, there's indexing. This is the process of ingesting and analyzing and categorizing the information. This happens in the background. Once it's stood up, it's pretty much continuously happening, refreshing as the content changes. And this is the opportunity for the solution to enrich the content and do some processing intensive things so that it's ready to be searched. There's query processing. This happens on the front end. It translates a user's search query or a question into a form that can then go off, the system can then go off and retrieve the relevant information from the index. There's result ranking, right? The process of analyzing the context that the end user's in, the behavior of the end user, analyzes maybe language semantics to determine the most relevant search results to present. You've got obviously the user interface where the humans interact with the enterprise search solution. This usually includes a search box, a search results page, and other sort of navigating and filtering options. And then finally, you've got personalization, analytics and personalization, which are happening in the background. They're collecting and analyzing data about user behavior and search usage to improve the relevance over time. So this improves the overall user experience because it's kind of a learning system, right? It's being tuned based on the way that end users are interacting with the information. I should say enterprise search solutions can range from very simple sort of keyword-based systems to much more sophisticated, machine learning powered platforms that leverage natural language processing and artificial intelligence. The specific features and capabilities of an enterprise search solution are going to depend on the specific needs and goals of the organization. But the goal of all of them is to support more effective and efficient information discovery and knowledge management aimed at business outcomes. Let's take a little look at the benefits, the common benefits. Improved information discovery, right? It helps employees find information quickly and easily. This improves efficiency, it improves collaboration. Some of the different variations that we see, people are looking for documents, people are looking for other people, right, within the organization, an expert that's worked on a specific project or might have a specific expertise that kind of is reflected in the index by the work that they've done. They might be looking for an overview, true discovery, what's out there that I don't know. And they could be looking for an answer. They may have a specific question. So quite a few variations there. Always increased productivity. That's really what this tool is all about. We live in a very interesting time with enterprise search and the advent of AI. I heard a statistic the other day talking about, in some organizations, 25–30% increase in productivity, which was equated to the introduction of the steam engine into factories at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. So a really large step change happening right now in productivity due to these AI-powered information solutions. Better user experience, right? This is a very user-friendly, kind of comes from the consumer space. It looks like a lot of the web search engines. It's also relevance ranked, as I was mentioning, so it enhances the search experience for end users, keeps them in the flow of their work. The information is really working for them at that point. Of course, enhanced security and compliance. This one's not as obvious when you're getting into enterprise search, but it helps organizations manage access to sensitive information, which then turns around and helps ensure compliance with industry regulations, best practices when we're talking about data privacy laws and things like that. So that, sunlight is the best disinfectant. That line that really applies here, bringing transparency so that organizations can catch and manage risk before it happens. And then lastly, kind of big picture thinking, better insights in business intelligence. So enterprise search provides visibility into what people are looking for and what are they actually using, right? And that kind of leads to better data-driven decision-making, right? Not only do you have the numbers telling you what's happening, but you have, the words and the context explaining sort of why it's happening or how it's happening. So those are some of the benefits. Let's look at the challenge. The challenges are unstructured data. It's tricky. It's natural language in a lot of cases, and it makes up to 80 to 90% of what an organization has stored within their firewall. So it's very difficult for search engines to kind of sift through and make sense of and use effectively. The growing data volumes, we heard all about this in kind of the big data era that we went through 10 plus years ago. It's just this explosive growth of digital information, right? As we all kind of bring our organizations, into modern times, it makes it hard for search engines to index and retrieve relevant information accurately because the signal to noise ratio is so immense. There are obviously security risks because search engines are play a central place in the enterprise. They're also potential targets for cyber attacks and unauthorized access. So, organizations have to implement really robust security protocols. There is difficulty accessing content, right? How does the system get hooked up to all these legacy systems that maybe weren't designed to be integrated with, right? So you've got countless formats at the data level, you've got countless locations at the repository level. It's hard for search engines to sort of classify and organize the content effectively. You've got this challenge of irrelevant search results, especially when you're talking about a basic keyword search approach. This can lead to inaccurate results or incomplete results if the information doesn't, kind of exactly match the keywords provided or the keyword provided. And if you've got really large and complex data structures, that can also result in irrelevant results, which requires kind of a multifaceted approach to organizing the data behind the scenes so it's primed to be searchable and findable with the queries that the users are running. The challenge of integrating new technologies, we really see this with the development of AI and machine learning technologies. They're extremely useful. It's a new paradigm for training, based on the data itself and the patterns in large volumes of data, but it's difficult. A lot of organizations find it very difficult to integrate them and make them play well with search engines. So that remains a challenge. And then finally, consolidating systems. Many organizations, for example, use various search engines, maybe at the departmental level, and it requires employees to then use multiple systems regularly, navigate different user experiences, maybe different search syntax. And this can always be improved by sort of consolidating search systems and having kind of one user experience and one sort of comprehensive and secure enterprise-wide solution. So those are some of the challenges. I want to introduce a few customer stories. At Cinequip, we work across different verticals, and I'd say these organizations represent sort of the main kind of knowledge-intensive industries where we spend most of our time. And Siemens, they've been a customer of Cinequip for a long time. They struggled with managing large amounts of data, and they were really trying to solve a customer service problem initially. And they had sort of unhappy customers that weren't always getting consistent or timely information when we met. That was their big challenge. Pfizer, when we started working with them half a decade ago, their initial problem was that they had these biostatisticians that had very limited visibility into the clinical trial process because it was difficult to navigate the research data comprehensively. The solution that they had kind of siloed the data. But when the researchers and the biostatisticians wanted to take a holistic view, they had trouble because the system wasn't built to enable that kind of analysis. And then Franklin Templeton, when we started working with them, they had fragmented information across multiple systems, and that made it challenging for their revenue generating teams to provide personalized services to their clients, right? And they wanted to make make sure they were giving their clients a very informed, evidence-backed decision for their investing purposes. So some similarities across those different accounts, some similarities across those different industries, and you can start to see how enterprise search challenges sort of manifest themselves across different industries. We'll come back to those in a minute. So I want to talk just a little bit about enterprise search in action and actually kind of show you a demonstration. But before I do, just want to give you kind of the breadth of kind of use cases that enterprise search addresses. This is by no means comprehensive, but one way to look at these, you've kind of got operational use cases that involve improving processes, whether they're in the back end, around research and development and product innovation, or maybe on the front end in terms of customer service approaches. There's kind of an operational view that enterprise search can impact those use cases, whether it's supply chain automation or operational risk management. The other view is around innovation, right? Innovation obviously involves creating new solutions for the purposes of business growth and value creation. Well, enterprise search can impact use cases and innovation when we talk about new product development, right? Looking at the way we designed previous similar products, looking at the way customers were using those products. What were the problems? What were the maintenance and support cases that came through? How can we leverage that experience those customers had with those previous products empirically to make our new products better and address some of those things? There's the idea of open innovation. One of our customers, NASA, you've all heard of, is doing a big open science project using enterprise search, right, to collaborate among different organizations involved in some of their space programs. And of course, customer experience innovation. We've already kind of talked about how do you streamline and make sure customers are getting timely, comprehensive, and accurate results for their interaction, whether it's on the sales side or the service side or the support side. So I want to bring up to kind of show you what this might look like. My colleague, Minji Kim. You out there, Minji? There you go. And she's going to take you through a quick demonstration.
Great. Thanks, Scott. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us today to talk about enterprise search. Again, my name is Minji Kim, and I'll spend about the next 15 or so minutes giving you a tour of what an enterprise search tool will look like. Before I do that, just wanted to paint the picture for you on what you might be experiencing today. So as Scott mentioned, enterprise search helps organizations and teams search and retrieve information from largely siloed systems. And today you're probably spending a lot of time just trying to find that one file, that one presentation, maybe that one slide, and you're clicking in folder after folder, file after file, you're 15 folders and 20 files deep, and just as you're about to give up, you remember that the thing that you're looking for was actually shared with you by someone through an instant message. What a nightmare. The amount of exercise your pointer finger just got, am I right? Well, certainly with the pandemic, and even before the pandemic, companies were using, Barrett, I like your comment there. I have not been spying on you, just to be clear. But companies have been using a lot of applications just to get the job done, which naturally creates these silos. And so it's no wonder that we spend so much time looking for something and possibly recreating things unnecessarily. Our research has shown that companies and their teams are spending upwards of 25% of their week just looking for information. That means you're spending all of Monday and the first part of Tuesday just looking for stuff before you can actually get to work with the information you found by lunchtime on Tuesday. That's pretty incredible. So I am going to flip over to the demo. Just wanted to give you all a heads up. You should see a pop-up on your window that says that Minji has started a screen share. When you do, you will see view options at the top. When you click on that, you'll be able to toggle to my screen. That's how you'll be able to see the demonstration. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And again, that should have initiated a pop-up screen on your side. Go ahead and click on view options at the top and toggle over to my screen. And you should see a window that says Workplace Search at the top. All right, so just to avoid any possible technical difficulties, I'm going to turn off my camera, and from here, we'll go right into the demo. So this is an example of an enterprise search solution. Just to help make it feel more real, I'm going to talk about how I might use an enterprise search solution in my everyday job. So at Cinequip, I am responsible for helping onboard new customers. And imagine I'm getting ready to onboard a new customer and I want to search for some information to get myself prepared. So I'm going to search for Cinequip implementation. And notice that as I am typing, a dynamic list of similar searches I've done recently appear here under recent query. There are other titles of documents that I might want to look at, some possible suggestions on things I want to search for. But today I'm going to search for Cinequip implementation. Now, when I do that, I get to the main results page, and to orient you, here in the middle are all of these results that return for my search. On the left-hand side are a variety of filters that you can use to dynamically narrow down your search results. Here in the upper left-hand corner are all the different content sources that this enterprise search tool is connected to. This is specific to your teams and your organization. So you might see other logos and other content sources connected here. And then below that, a variety of filters that you can use. Think about when you're shopping on Amazon, you see all those filters on the left-hand side, like filter by color or price range or rating. Same thing. You can use these types of filters to narrow down your search results. And then on the right-hand side is a document preview, which we will look at that a bit more in a little bit. So I search for Cinequip implementation. This second result is implementation guidelines. Bingo, this is what I'm looking for. Now, I want to spend a couple of moments to talk to you about things that may not be obvious, things that you may not see on how we got here. So you just heard me say this is the second result. You might be asking, Minji, why is it not the first result? And that is because you can see that the first result here is official connector list or sponsored content. You can also know that as pinned content. And what that means is that you, as the administrator of an enterprise search tool, can identify specific new or noteworthy documents or files that you want to bring to the top of a results list for specific searches. In this example, I searched for implementation, and cornerstone to onboarding a new customer with an enterprise search tool is to connect to that client's data sources. So in this case, Cinequip has gone ahead and boosted this specific list of connectors to the top because it's very relevant for what I need to do. Now, another example that I want to talk about is the fact that this implementation guidelines, you can see that it's sourced from Google Drive. This is because for all of my prior searches, I typically click on results that are from Google Drive. You can also augment this as the administrator. You can boost certain data sources to the top of search results. Maybe you have a particular data repository or content repository that holds company official materials. So you can augment that on your side as well. And then a final example is, imagine if I search for Cinequip onboarding instead of Cinequip implementation. We can set up a synonym list in the background to say, hey, dear engine, when somebody types in onboarding, that is synonymous to implementation and vice versa. So if I were to search for Cinequip onboarding, I can still get to the same implementation guidelines because natural language is diverse, right? So when a search is entered in, the system is recognizing various iterations of what I'm looking for and still get to same, if not similar results. All right, so I found this awesome implementation guidelines document. I want to check it out. I click on it and you can see a preview of it rendered here on the right-hand side in the document preview. This preview already solves for the fact that I don't have to click in and out of files, because today, if you think about it, in the absence of an enterprise search tool, you're probably in your file search, you found a file, you opened it, and you scroll through it, and you say, nope, this is not it. You close out of it, you go to the next file, you open it, that's not it, and you close it. And it's a lot of clicking in and out. Here, I don't have to click in and out of anything. I can go to the search result. I can scroll through this preview to see what I'm looking for. Maybe this is it, maybe it's not. If it's not, I can go to the next search result, or I can just change my search entirely to refine what I am looking for. In this case, this is what I'm looking for, I think. I'm going to click on Browse here in the upper left-hand corner, which will launch a larger preview of this document. You can see a variety of things that are highlighted here based on what I searched for initially, which was Cinequip implementation. But as I'm looking through this document, I wonder, does this document make any reference to the people resources that my new customer needs to bring to the table in order to have onboarding go smoothly? So I'm going to search for team resources. And here, what it did was I was able to navigate and find information within this document. Building the right team. Before implementation, make sure you build the appropriate team. I can click on these different extracted passages, navigate quickly through the document. You can see those areas highlighted, so it's easy for me to find. I've been able to find a document, search for specific information within that document, navigate to it easily, and that makes my life a heck of a lot easier than opening a document, hitting Control F, looking for something, close out of it. Now, in the spirit of extraction of these relevant passages, I can also click on entities. Here are just some example defaults where the engine has identified places, companies, and people within this particular implementation guidelines document. You as the administrator can identify and add additional entities to be extracted from your documents as well. And in this example, if I click on this dropdown, I see that Frankfurt, London, New York, and Paris are referenced in this document, and I can easily use these navigation tools to jump from place to place in the document where those references are made. Okay, this is the document that I want. I'm going to X out of this, and you can see when I X out of it, Cinequip implementation, my original search has been preserved. So I, again, search for something, found a document, preview the document, search for more information within that document, come back here without ever leaving the search interface. A lot that is consolidated in how I work without multiple windows and multiple tabs open. Now, keeping on with this scenario, implementation guidelines, it's something I'm going to use over and over again. So I can favorite this by clicking on the star here in the upper right-hand corner of the results snippet. What that does is it's going to favorite this document and bookmark it on the main landing page of the Enterprise Search tool so that every time I come to Enterprise Search, that document is waiting for me. I don't have to research for this. It's going to be right here. I can easily click on it and it'll navigate me to what I need. Now, I want to make a comment about security, which Scott mentioned just a little bit ago, which is if I didn't have access to this implementation guidelines outside of this search interface, I'm not going to have this document return in my search results. So the Enterprise Search tool is doing more than just navigating through all the different data silos and being able to find relevant information and return it to you quickly. It is still going to also respect native security protocols that your company has for if an employee or a user is able to access a particular document. So none of that changes. We are just mirroring those security protocols within an Enterprise Search tool. Okay, I'm ready to meet with my new customer. I want to send some materials as pre-read, but it's a client. I want to make sure I send some materials in PDF. So I'm going to search for PDF on Cinequip connectors. And you can see that all the results that pop up are in fact PDF. Why? Because I searched for PDF. The engine is not going to return things that are non-PDF because that's not what I am looking for. So the search and the query itself is dynamic to pick up on these nuances. And from here, maybe I say I want to only look at documents that are in Google Drive. So I can click on Google Drive here in the upper left-hand corner, which applies that Google Drive filter. Alternatively, I might be looking for information that is only related to engineering teams, so I can click on that. You can see that these filters are layered on top of each other. I can X out of one, I can X out of all of them. This just shows you how you can dynamically narrow down your search results based on these filters. And yes, these filters are fully configurable by you as the administrator of the tool. Now, just to keep on with this example, I'm going to look for Cinequip connectors. And let's just say that I am looking for some information and then the client pings me and says, hey, by the way, for our upcoming meeting, be prepared to talk about natural language processing. Let's be real, folks. I am not an expert on NLP. I know that NLP stands for natural language processing, but that's about as far as I can get. So I need to phone a friend. I'm going to search for experts on NLP. And when I do that, I have a variety of different search results that come up, but I can also see that there are some, oh, sorry, let me remove some of these filters. That might make more sense. You can see that one of the search results that I get is understand natural language processing in 5 questions. Incidentally, written by our very own Scott Parker. And I'm a studious employee. I look at it, I read it. I don't really understand what it says. Scott is away, so I need to reach out to someone. Well, I see that Luke here is considered an expert on NLP, and you can see that his title is VP of Center of Excellence. Now, that's not obvious. It's not obvious to me why Luke is considered an expert. It's not obvious to me why Brian, who's our technical trainer, is an expert on NLP. The expert finder is different than a manual maintenance of a list of individuals who might be self-declared as an expert on a particular topic. Not throwing shade on those people, just saying that the expert finder is actually also combing through the entire corpus to identify variables such as who is constantly publishing or authoring materials and content on a particular topic. Is there a particular person who is frequently mentioned in content related to a particular topic? And that is giving you 2 things. One, it is relying on content-driven indicators of who might have real knowledge on a particular topic. And secondly, it is keeping up with that list because, as Scott mentioned earlier, the first time you might index, that's not the end. You're constantly indexing and updating, keeping your corpus up to date. This will continue to churn in the background and identify how that list changes. So you're not manually maintaining that anymore. It is maintaining itself as the information and the documents and the files that are in the index are updated as well. Now from here, I click on Luke. Oh, sorry there. I click on Luke and I see some information about Luke, where he can be contacted. I can see things that he has published recently, and I say, yes, he's my guy. So now I want to reach out to Luke. Sure, I can click on Teams. I can toggle over to my Outlook, or I can click on one of these shortcut buttons, which will automatically launch that application, like Teams, for example. It'll automatically launch the application with a blank message to Luke, and I can type in, hey, Luke, need you for 5 minutes to answer some questions on NLP. This is an example of real-time collaboration, and it matches the way that people naturally work. You search for information, you read it, you have questions about it, you look for someone within the company that has more information and expertise on it, you reach out to them to collaborate. So as much as this is a search and retrieval tool, as Scott mentioned earlier, this is a productivity tool. This is more than just finding information. It's helping me reach out to specific individuals with whom I can collaborate on a particular topic or on a particular query that I have in mind. Okay, last thing that I want to show you is slide deck builder. So I'm getting ready for my meeting, my important meeting with my client. I'm putting an informative deck together. And the most frustrating part about putting a deck together is when you are putting a deck together that uses slides from multiple past decks. How many PowerPoint windows do we have to have open to accomplish this? It's quite a feat. You're copying and pasting slides from multiple decks. Of course, you accidentally X out of the new deck, which you did not actually save yet. And then you throw your hands up in the air. Maybe you walk away from your desk for 5 minutes. The slide deck builder helps you avoid having any PowerPoint windows open. Let me show you how that works. So let's say I want to start my deck with information on Cinequip Search Cloud. When I type that in, I see all slides relevant to Cinequip Search Cloud returned to me. I can look through these and I say, you know what, I like this slide and I like this slide. And then from here, I remember the client asked me to include some information on natural language processing. So I'm going to search for natural language processing. And notice, first and foremost, the 2 slides that I just chose on Cinequip Search Cloud have not gone anywhere. They're still here. And now I'm going to look for the slides I want on natural language processing. I pick these 2 slides. I stop and I take stock of the 4 slides that I chose. And I say, you know what, I'm going to put NLP first because that's what the client asked of me. And then I'm going to switch the order of the 2 slides related to Cinequip Search Cloud. I'm happy. This is what I want. I'm going to hit on this download export button here in the upper right-hand corner of this preview. And what that does is it's going to export these 4 slides into a brand new PowerPoint deck. You should see that PowerPoint deck opening up here on my screen. Those 4 slides in the order that I put them. I did not have to have 4 or more other PowerPoint decks open to make this happen. I made it all happen just within the search interface itself. Last thing I wanted to show you to wrap up is an example of an administration console. So among other things, the administration console will also house a variety of adoption and relevancy metrics that you can monitor to see how your enterprise search tool is being used, what is being clicked on, what folders are being accessed, what filters are being used, what search results are being abandoned. And this information is useful because it helps content creators and knowledge managers understand where the business may need more information, what has been previously created that may not be as impactful as we had hoped. It helps to identify content gaps and how you can refine your search tool so that it fits your teams and your business needs. So I know that was a lot of information thrown at you. I hope you saw in action the power of an enterprise search tool and the value that it can bring to your organization and your teams. Thank you for your time. I'm going to switch this back over to Scott.
Okay, thanks, Minji. Really great. You know, if this were a cooking show, that was the point where Minji just brought the beautiful dish out of the oven. And now I get the enviable job of kind of taking you back and explaining to you how we got there, right? So how do most organizations kind of get to a solution like the one you just saw? What are some of the key considerations that you should be thinking about when choosing an enterprise search solution? Well, obviously your business objectives. All of our customers come with something. They're trying to prevent customer churn with a better customer engagement solution. They're trying to up their innovation and get products out the door faster. They want to be first to market with a new drug, or they want to be have more productivity so they don't have to invest as much next year in their call center, for example, or they're having compliance problems. Maybe there was an episode that really started to erode their brand value. So there's a business objective. You need to think about the data sources. You can think holistically, but you should also be thinking very pragmatically about which data sources do we need to consider to address the initial business objective. They want to think about search requirements, right? Are we thinking speed, accuracy, relevance, the user experience, like I mentioned before, right? How can we best drive adoption once the solution's in place? It should be intuitive, require very little to no end user training. How important is it to integrate with other systems? Minji showed some really good examples there of sort of integrating it with, Slack and some of the other tools in the environment where the demo was created. You definitely want to think about scalability and performance. Successful search solutions tend to expand. People see it and they come up with ideas. If you've never been in this field before, it's incredible to see people get this light bulb moment. So, you want to be thinking about not just today's scalability and performance, but what if this were to be successful and scale out to more content, more end users? Will it survive or will it break? Security and compliance, we kind of discussed, very, very big consideration within the enterprise, making sure those access controls are respected. You always have to think about cost, right? What's the budget and what's my ROI look like? Support and maintenance, how much of that's required with an enterprise search system? What kind of expertise and skills am I going to be able to leverage my existing teams to run this? Are there people around that have done this before? Do I need to bring in a new position? And finally, and very importantly, you want to consider a vendor that's has a track record of staying up with technology, being innovative, right? So that your your investment stands the test of time. And I think if you consider these factors, this is kind of the baseline set of factors that you should be looking at if you're considering bringing in a search solution or replacing one you already have. All right, let's talk a little bit about implementation and deployment. Like anything, you want to start by defining requirements. This touches on some of the things I just mentioned: data sources, the user experience, the scalability. You want to look at different solutions based on their ability to meet the requirements, but also their cost and what does their support model look like. After that, broadly speaking, it's time to plan the implementation, right? Timelines, responsibilities. Typically after that, there's some sort of configuration where you install the search solution or you get access to it if it's a service, and integrates with your backend systems and also any other kind of front-end integrations you might want to set up, along with security controls. That's a big part of the configuration. You have to test and validate that the performance requirements are being met, that the functional requirements are being met, that the non-functional requirements are being met. That last one can be tricky. You want to train and support the users, especially the administrative users. Those are the ones that typically need the training. The end users, not so much, unless you're doing something very, very unique. Most enterprise search solutions kind of look and feel a lot like consumer or web-based search solutions, which really takes away the need to support, train and support end users. But again, there might be some features or some syntax to get into. And then finally, the key, these systems are very agile. As I mentioned earlier, monitoring once it's stood up, the performance and the usage, right? Seeing where people are going, where they're not going, where they should be finding stuff and they're not, where they are finding stuff and they shouldn't, right? Those are all the kind of monitoring. And luckily, most enterprise search solutions will have kind of this back-end logs and analytics to give you those insights. It can be complex, but if you kind of follow these steps, you work with a knowledgeable vendor, you can pretty quickly realize the full potential of enterprise search. It's usually a fast project compared to maybe a data migration project, right? Those are typically error prone, they typically last a long time, and they introduce a lot more complexity. The other thing about enterprise search is it's usually, there's no coding involved, unless you have to develop a new connector for something really, really rare. It's usually, like I said, a pretty fast non-software development type of project. And then similarly, what are some of the best practices? Well, again, starting with clear requirements is critical. I think involving stakeholders is what we've seen, really getting that sort of 360-degree view of the project and maybe even the projects. I remember working with a large American manufacturer some years ago, and they had collected all of their enterprise search ideas before they approached the vendor. So they kind of involved multiple departments and were sort of formulating a rollout or a roadmap for multiple enterprise search projects. And they wanted a single platform that could solve those through time. You want to choose the right solution. You want to test it thoroughly. I mentioned training users, monitoring performance. And I would say seek expert help. Consider working with a vendor or a solution provider with expertise. It's not a shameless plug. It's just that most organizations might deal with an enterprise search project once, twice, a handful of times in their career. An enterprise search vendor does this for a living, right? So they're going to bring the collective wisdom that's been gained from all of the other projects that they've worked on. And that's a lot of wisdom to get you landed in the right place quickly and with less risk. So back to our customers, where did they go? I can't leave you hanging. I have to tell you that Siemens uses enterprise search to this day to increase customer self-service. They use it for self-service on a portal, which decreases the calls in to their agents, at least the ones that don't need to go in. The ones that most people today expect a self-service solution for certain types of questions and queries. It's also increased their customer satisfaction, and they were able to do that without additional call centers and without increasing call center headcount. So that's a great example. I saw somebody was asking about productivity. This is kind of the high level way to measure productivity is, in retrospect, have you been able to prevent or avoid certain costs, hiring and adding additional call centers, for example, that you otherwise would have needed to do without something like enterprise search in place. So what did Pfizer do? Pfizer, the biostatisticians, used enterprise search to kind of go across those information silos to kind of see the patterns and start to connect the dots semi-automatically. And the result was they were able to improve trial design because they could see they had the visibility across the clinical trials that they never had before. And that ended up contributing to the success of their clinical trial operations. And obviously Pfizer's done some amazing things for the world here in recent years. In Franklin Templeton's case, their sales, marketing, and their client services teams today use enterprise search to consolidate the relevant information so that they're not confused, there's no redundancy, there's no conflict, right? They've done a masterful job of using search as an aid to knowledge management that gives their customer service and revenue generating personnel a way to provide exceptional service to their clients, which obviously goes a long way to improve overall business performance if you have a credible place you can go to get that information for those customers. So that's a little bit of a summary of closure for where these accounts, where these customers landed with enterprise search. So let me kind of wrap up just with some enterprise search trends. So the first one is around AI and machine learning, right? Search algorithms can better understand the meaning of context and words and improve search results accuracy with machine learning. They help automate content tagging. They help automate categorization. So all of that activity in the background makes it easier to set up the index or the corpus to be searchable, right? And that's without sort of manual rules that are being applied by humans. It's by letting the machine learning look at the patterns in the data and the patterns in the queries over time. The other trend worth mentioning is integrating enterprise search. We're seeing a lot more integration that is allowing the employees to kind of get the information where they need it. So instead of having to come over here to a dedicated enterprise search interface, they might have that information embedded in their SharePoint or in their customer service application or in their business intelligence application. So lots of integration. There's a huge trend multi-year towards cloud-based enterprise search solutions. This reduces the burden of managing on-premise infrastructure, like we all maybe remember. It offers more scalability in many different cases, more flexibility, definitely more cost savings, and it also provides faster deployment, sometimes easier integration, and improved security measures. And then the last trend I'll mention before we head off to Q&A is just the user experience. There's a lot more focus on personalized and relevant results, especially for these customers that have been using it for a while. And the trend towards advancements in AI and machine learning is helping this. It's enabling search engines to really, truly learn from user behavior and preferences. And you start to see this when you see features like natural language processing and even autocomplete in these enterprise search solutions. So overall, these are the trends we see. They're all aiming to improve decision-making and driving better business outcomes. So let's cut over for a few questions. Cindy, are you going to help facilitate?
I will. So curious minds want to know, you've got to hit this one head on for me. I'm going to be very selfish and then we'll get to some of the other ones. So there's such a buzz today. And first of all, thank you for giving us a pathway to making dreams become reality. It's real. So tell us this, there's a lot of buzz about Chat GPT. If you're just hearing it for the first time, just go search for it. Talk about Cinequip's neural search. Is it the same technology? Give us some insights.
You want to start, Menji, and I'll add color?
Sure. So just to be clear, we're not talking about Chat GPT and enterprise search being two mutually exclusive things in the sense that Chat GPT uses a large language model. It's the same technology that Cinequip uses in its neural search to better understand language and therefore provide results based on meaning. So that's what I mean about ChatGPT and enterprise search not being two mutually exclusive things, but we're cohabiting in this space. But there is one major difference, Scott, if you wanted to talk about that major difference.
Well, yeah, the way I see it, I mean, ChatGPT is amazing. Generative AI is we're seeing it unfold here. I think there's a big thing, and I think this is where enterprise search can help out. For one thing, ChatGPT, everybody knows it hallucinates, right? If it doesn't quite know, or if it's predictive approach, it'll kind of just tell you something based on, statistical reasoning, but it's not correct. So one way that Cinequip was looking at this is, what if we gave it the search results, right? What if we could give it the information to prevent it from hallucinating? And then the other big difference I'll mention is ChatGPT, all those technologies, they rarely give you any information about where the information came from. So the sources aren't there. And we all learned that in grade school, right? You have to cite your sources. So one of the things we found is we've integrated enterprise search and generative AI technology is we can preserve those sources. So we can provide that citation service and that tracking ability. So I think I see a lot of, and you're going to hear a lot more about this, but I see enterprise search as the vehicle to bring generative AI into the workplace.
I love it, Scott. You're bringing some trusted approaches into this. I love hearing that. Here's another question for you or Minji. Going back to Minji, when you were showing the development of PowerPoint, I think we all just responded to that instantly. One of the questions we had from our participants today is, did the search engine analyze each slide when it was searching for your concept?
Very good question. So what happens is when Scott mentioned towards the top of the presentation that the first step is indexing. And when you index slide decks, the enterprise search tool actually indexes every individual slide. That's what helps the slide deck builder exist. So to that question, yes, it is actually combing through each individual slide to be able to identify relevant slides based on the query and return those slides in return.
Very good. Thank you. We had another question just asked in chat, and I think this kind of gets to the notion of your enterprise search being integrated with other enterprise applications and systems. So that's the broader question. The specific question is, do you have customers using a Bing.com work for enterprise search and your products? And if so, why are they doing that? Why is there the integration?
I have not seen, I've seen certain integrations that take a federated approach for specific use cases. By federated, I mean intertwining results maybe coming from a web search engine or another public-ish type source with internal information. That can be useful because it gives the technology a chance to kind of reconcile and provide a more unified answer. But that's more of an edge case. From what I've seen, I mean, most enterprise search implementations that we're privy to are trying to fill the gap of not being able to search enterprise information, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We just received one in. Does relevance take into account how popular a search result has been? In other words, does it learn from successful searches performed by others?
Yes, but it's a slippery slope, right? Because a popular answer can take on a life of its own if that's the only criteria being used. So, one of the things that we didn't really have time to dig into was kind of how you go out and sort of measure how the system's being used and then incorporate that back into your implementation. You can do the equivalent of little focus groups throughout your organization. So I think, you can, but you have to be a little bit careful how much you automate that, because you don't want that, most popular answer to just start to explode and really create kind of a mirage, if you will.
Absolutely. Another questions are rolling in, guys. So we're going to take a couple of more, and then we'll get with Scott and Minji to do any final things offline. Scott, have you or Minji seen an organization allow returning just the metadata of a document, title, summary, author, and a way to request access to the document in search results to avoid this problem?
Yes. Yeah, I have an actual example of a global law firm that uses the example Minji talked about, that expert search, right? They gave us a great example of, I have litigation regarding, I think it was aircraft leasing. And what it did, because you can't expose that information, that client data, what it was able to do is expose exactly the metadata to tell you, yes, there's an attorney in the Sao Paulo office that, according to our litigation records, has done the most litigation in the area of aircraft leasing. So yes, that's a great example of kind of exposing just enough to be secure, but also making that inter-organizational connection and getting those experts, connected to each other without divulging information.
That's nice. That's a top of mind thing, right? Data privacy, and it's
Yes.
exploded. Yes, I know you all deal with that. Hey, so this is going to benefit everybody. Do you have a web-based live demo to show a top management group? Can they get to that, or do they just contact you all?
Yeah, I think it would be best to at least reach out so that we can ensure that we're providing a demo that makes the most sense and maybe tailored to your industry. We have some videos, pre-recorded videos that you can at least observe similar to what we showed today that can be shown. But yeah, I'll definitely reach out to us, and we're happy to explore that further.
That'll be great. Well, listen, any final words, Scott or Minji? We just appreciate you so much, and your team. Charlotte, thank you for being here as well.
I would say this, sorry, I would just say, Cindy, if folks want to take a picture of this screen to capture our email addresses.
Absolutely.
We have two requests, join us at the APQC conference in May and reach out directly. We put our email addresses here. Happy to continue the dialogue.
We appreciate it. And guys, they're going to be with us in less than 4 weeks. Just to remind you, it's April. We moved it up this year. So please come join Scott and Minji and their team. And we're looking so forward. Scott, Minji, Charlotte, thank you so very much for joining us. Very informative and bringing a lot of light into things that seem somewhat dark at times. So thank you all. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye now.